Hello, welcome to Spread Book Joy. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jack. If you're not new, welcome back to Spread Book Joy. And if you're not new, you'll know I don't really like to do TBRs unless it's for a specific readathon, etc. So I was doing a reading ramble video and it was going on a bit because I like to ramble, and I discovered that actually I was going to include my seasonal sort of the things I really am thinking of getting to over the autumn season, and including my Victober reading. And what I thought was, this is getting too long, so I'm going to do a separate video on it. So here it is, my seasonal pile of possibilities. And I became a seasonal reader really when I came onto BookTube. Aside from wanting to read like really light kind of contemporary or crime fiction in summer when I'm on holiday, which I didn't do much of this year, like when I go away on holiday, like a beach read. Aside from that, I don't really do seasonal reading, maybe Christmas reading. But in terms of the autumn, last year was the first year I've really had this like autumn kind of vibe from my reading. I read Aveline Jones just as the days were getting shorter. If you've not heard of it before, The Haunting of Aveline Jones by Phil Hicks is the first in his Aveline Jones middle grade series of like supernatural tales. It's a ghost story and it's just got all the autumn vibes. I'll put a picture of it up here so you can see what I mean. And I remember sitting in the morning and it was dark, it was getting darker, and I was sitting with my coffee and I was reading it and I could hear the wind outside, and it was just like perfect. And then I did a sort of Halloween reading vlog last year, and that was very atmospheric. And I just love this time of year for reading gothic tales, reading cozy books as well. So I've got a selection of things that I really hope that I might get to. I'm not going to get to all of these, of course, but these are a selection of the books I brought with me, and I brought them specifically because I knew we were going to be, autumn was approaching, so these books didn't go into storage. They came with me because autumn's approaching and spooky season's approaching, and I want to try and get to some of them. So first up, really, I want to talk to you about Victober. So Victober, this is a definite book I'm going to read in Victober. And Victober, like Victorian literature in October, has become, it's just like, they go together so well, you know, they're bacon and eggs or whatever. So this, I'm going to be reading Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. Now, I've talked about this before. Read Hardy when I was doing my A-levels. I read Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Oh, I got a bookmark free from the bookshop. I read Tess of the D'Urbervilles when I was doing my A-levels, and I hated it. I was 17 though, and I didn't really like Emma or a few of the other books that I read for my A-levels, which I absolutely love now. So I'm really excited to get into some Thomas Hardy, and I've been told Far from the Madding Crowd is a different tone of book, and it's really great. And Gemma over at Gem of Books, she's raved about it, so I'm really excited to get into Thomas Hardy, and I'm hoping to do this as a buddy read with Claudia from Spencer's Library. We bought this intentionally because she bought a copy, and we went out on a book shopping trip in London back in August when she came to London, and we bought this specifically hopefully to buddy read, so I must contact her and say we're still going to do that. But even if we don't, I'm going to be reading this. Look at this beautiful rural cover as well. Doesn't that give you sort of all the autumn vibes? You've got sheep, hay bales, someone's like the shepherd's kind of got like a cloak or a blanket around them. It's from The Shepherd by Charles Wellington Firth, which is beautiful. The other book I'm reading for Victober is Silas Marner by George Eliot. I'm desperate to read some George Eliot. Can't find my copy of it for some reason, even though I've only got like all my books are in these shelves just below here. But yeah, I'm reading Silas Marner by George Eliot because I've never read any George Eliot. I'm desperate to get into some George Eliot, and it's kind of shorter. I don't want to overload my Victober reading. I discovered last year, as opposed to my first year of doing Victober, last year I kind of set myself a very small TBR, and it was manageable and achievable, especially because my busiest time of the year is the start of the academic year. So I want to be like, you know, sensible about it. So I'm going to split the next two sets of books up into categories. This first category is going to be like autumn vibes, either cozy or just autumnal, and the covers do a lot for me in this as well. Okay, this first book is definitely all the October feels and all the autumn feels, so have a look at this. It's called October by Katia Balin, and this beautiful cover illustrated by Angela Harding. I'm just going to turn it around so you can see this glorious, beautiful etched kind of cover with the owl on the front. So this is about a girl called October. It's a middle grade book. October lives in the woods with her father, and she rescues a baby owl, and then her father falls out of a tree and has an accident, and the mother, who has been estranged from her, comes to take care of her. So that's what this is about. Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett is my next autumnal read, and you can kind of see why as well. It's one of the death sequence in the Discworld books, and I haven't read this since the first time I read it. I must have read it about 25 years ago, and I haven't read it since. I think out of all of the different sequences in the Discworld, and I love Death as a character, and Mort is quite possibly my favourite Pratchett book, but the rest of the Death books, I haven't reread them ever, which I find ridiculous. So I want to do a reread of them. So I brought the Death books with me, or the ones that I had in paperback at least, and I want to reread them. So I've got Reaper Man, and the other one I've got coming up, which is another seasonal read, but that'll be for Christmas, is Hogfather. So yeah, Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett, and this is where Death sort of goes missing, and basically he kind of doesn't want to do his job anymore. He goes and does someone else's job. I can't really remember the full details of it, but yeah, look at the cover. The cover is so autumnal, or autumny, as I said to my sister-in-law the other day when I couldn't remember the word autumnal. But yes, there we go. This is another beautiful autumnal cover. William Horwood, Duncton Wood. I've had this on my shelf for a year now, and I've been desperate to read it, and I think this is really high on my priority list. It's a kind of a book about a mole society that live in this place, Duncton Wood. It's the first in a series though, and I think most of the series is out of print, which is a real shame if it is. But yeah, I just love the cover. Look at it. As soon as I saw the cover, I just wanted it. And then when I found out it was about, it's like an anthropomorphic kind of fantasy book, I was just, I'm there. I love books like Watership Down or The Bees by Laline Paul, where you are brought into an animal society, or a human's perception of what it might be like, you know, if we understood an animal society. But yeah, this is what Duncton Wood seems to be, so I'm really excited about that. And then just because in the autumn I feel like fairy tales are something I want to read as the nights draw in, I have got my Philip Pullman's version of the Grimm fairy tales. So I started reading this and didn't manage to finish it, but I will. I'm really looking forward to picking up on fairy tales and reading more fairy tales. And in that vein, in that same vein, I have Tinder by Sally Gardner, which is my sister-in-law's. I borrowed it from her, and yeah, it's got all of the fairy tale vibes going on. So I can't quite remember the exact storybook about what the story's about, but look inside. It's kind of a fairy tale kind of myth, and just look how beautiful it is. You've got all these lovely illustrations all throughout. Now, this next lot of books are seasonal because they are spooky or have some sort of spooky element, and that's why I am looking forward to reading them. First up is this beautiful Sisters of the Lost Marsh by Lucy Strange. And this is the thing, I keep saying I'm looking forward to reading them. I'm going to read all of these books at some point, I really will. But I'm not necessarily going to read them all this spooky season. But yeah, these are the ones that are high on my priorities and my pile of possibilities. So this is Sisters of the Lost Marsh by Lucy Strange. It's about six sisters, and some of them, they get cursed, and some of them go missing as far as I know. Yeah, the arrival of the mysterious full moon fair is a chance for the eldest girls to steal a moment's fun, but the day the fair moves on, Grace vanishes. So one of the sisters vanishes. So it looks really, really good. And I just love the cover. Look at it. Beautiful. You can tell I'm a real cover kind of buyer, aren't I? Like, covers really draw me in. Next up, Cujo by Stephen King, and equally Nightmares and Dreamscapes by Stephen King. I don't have a physical copy, but I have the audiobook, which is read by tons and tons of famous people, and Kevy over at Say Kevy is reading that as part of a read along. I can't remember who the host of the read along is, but she invited me to the Discord, and I've still not listened to any of the stories yet, but I will, and I'm gonna put my thoughts on there at some point. But yes, Cujo by Stephen King, and this, I got this and I brought this with me. I bought it for my dad because AJ Dunn over at AJ Dunn Reads and Writes. If you don't follow or subscribe to their channel, go and do so. They have a Stephen King project where they're reading all of the Stephen King books. This was their favourite. It's been supplanted, and I can't remember by what, possibly Misery. But yeah, when they said this was their favourite, I just thought I have to read Cujo after that, because I love Stephen King and I've got a lot of fondness for him. So yeah, Cujo's there. Then I just got sent this brilliant, look at this, pumpkins and everything, book from Chicken House Books, The Other Ones it's called. So they sent me a package of books in the post. It was so exciting because they were like a thank you for promoting their books, because I did a video on them and they found it and they saw it and they liked the video. So this is a YA book, I'm just going to read you the blurb because it sounds really awesome. Sal hates standing out, but he lives in a haunted house and everybody knows it. His oldest friend Dirk tries to help, but he wants to stay popular and Sal isn't helping. Elsie was popular until recently. Now she's on the outcast table too, and she doesn't want to talk about it. Then there's the new boy, Pax, who won't leave Sal alone. His idea of a good time is hanging out in graveyards, and for some reason Sal just can't stay away. Meet the other ones. Can they banish their ghosts together? So it's kind of like a YA LGBTQI plus book, and it's supposed to be spooky and fun, and I'm really looking forward to this one. It doesn't come out until the 13th of October either, so I got it in advance, which is brilliant. Classic for spooky season, The Haunting of Hill House. I hate the cover. I do hate Netflix tie-in covers, but this was picked up cheaply in a secondhand bookshop, so I've never read any Shirley Jackson, so I'd like to see if I could get through this in October. That would be really good. I also brought The Owl Service by Alan Garner, which is kind of a freaky book from what I remember from childhood, but I haven't read it since I was a kid. So I brought that because it would be a reread, and when Alan Garner was nominated, he's been shortlisted for the Booker, and that's apparently an unpopular opinion by people on BookTube, but his kids' books, I remember really loving them when I was a kid. So Alan Garner's Owl Service, because it's a bit creepy, and again, something that I bought for the cover, but also because I love the author, and it was a signed edition when I went into Waterstones, is this gorgeous, look at all these mushrooms on the back of this cover, I love it, this gorgeous edition of The Deathless Girls by Kira Millward Hargrave. I think it's a vampire book as far as I'm aware. It is a spooky book, it does freak people out. I started reading it in January and I just was not in the mood for like abduction or anything, or like abuse against women, so I think the start of the book kicked off with girls being abducted, and I was just like, no, I'm not in the mood for that right now. I mean, no, never in the mood for it, but I was particularly down in January and I was finding it tricky to read tough scenes like that. So I'm going to try this one because it's just so stunning, and I really want to say I've read all of her books. I'd like to do an author spotlight on her. So Deathless Girls by Kira Millward Hargrave. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which I think is supposedly quite creepy. So I really want to get into some Daphne du Maurier. Never read any Daphne du Maurier, can you believe it? I was sent this by my lovely friend Sal over at Salvo Reads on Instagram. And last, All Our Hidden Gifts by Caroline O'Donoghue, which is a YA book, which kind of got a supernatural thing about a psychic, as far as I'm aware. But it's supposed to be very, very good. So that's my seasonal pile of possibilities. Anything there that you highly recommend? Oh, also I'll be carrying on with the Sookie Stackhouse books, the Southern Vampire Mysteries, and they kind of fit in with spooky season, though they're not at all scary. Anything there that you think I should prioritise? Anything you're like, why haven't you read that yet? Do it now. Because I've been so busy and tied up with buddy reads and readathons and like assigned kind of reading. It's not assigned reading, not like I'm in school, but it's stuff that I have to keep up with, and I have very little reading time. So when I've got a buddy read, or when I've got a group read or something like that, I've had to prioritise those over any other kind of reading. I have left myself sort of most of October, apart from the Victober reading, I haven't got any buddy reads. I haven't got, apart from Victober, I haven't got anything for November or December or January, and I'm trying to keep it that way so I can be spontaneous with my reading. I'm really looking forward to that, and this whole set of books here is what I really envision myself reading over the winter, when it's getting dark, with a hot chocolate, curled up with a blanket. Can't wait. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing. I don't know why, it's quite rambly, but if you fancy it. I post videos every Sunday, occasionally every Thursday. I'm trying to stick to a regular schedule here, but it's been a bit tricky recently, but I am getting there. But if you like this rambling nonsense, make a comment below, click like, subscribe, all the things, and hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye!